You are now listening to The Perfect Prana with Kyah Ann. What's poppin'? What's good? You're listening to The Perfect Prana Show. I'm Kyah Ann, your host, a yoga instructor, enthusiast, practitioner, a stretch therapist / flexologist, and a YouTuber. Yeah, that's a thing now. I guess that's what I am. If you love yoga, this is the perfect place to be. If you do not love yoga, this is still the perfect place to be because I have a lot in store for you all between the yoga news, where I speak about what's going on in the world of yoga, Yoga Heals, where I bring on a very special guest and speak to them about their practice, and the yoga theme, where I will be posting YouTube videos of asana practices to go along with the theme of the week. But before we get into all of that, let's center ourselves. Let's take this moment to go inward, to focus on our breath, to focus on our prana, energy source, our life force, our chi. There's a lot of different translations, but let's focus on that. No matter where you're at, you are driving in the car, you're walking in the park, you're laying in the bed, you're sitting on the couch, take this moment to align your spine, create a nice line of energy from your tailbone to the crown of your head so breath can effortlessly move through you. And just notice your breath without controlling it. Pull your shoulders down from your ears. Create space in your neck. No matter what breath you're on, go ahead and push out all the air. Inhale with me through your nose, filling up all the way, making this a very deep breath and holding at the top. Exhale to sigh it out, pushing out all the air, none left behind. Inhale to start a new breath, breathing through your nose, filling up to your collarbone, into the crown of your head, letting the breath travel upward and holding at the top. And then exhale, sighing dramatically, like pushing out all the air, expelling everything that you do not need. And one more super deep breath in through your nose, letting the breath travel upward. And exhale, one super dramatic sigh. No air left behind. Let your breath come back to a steady rhythm. Yoga news. Man says neighbor Karen's yoga classes have crept onto his lawn that she calls shared nature. Is he overreacting? A Reddit user who wants to reclaim his backyard is fed up with sounds and smells of the weekly yoga sessions. I just thought this was a funny, lighthearted story. People shared it from Reddit, and yeah, I'm just gonna talk about it. Basically, this woman, she started having neighborhood classes, and they started to grow over time, and these classes started to creep into this man's backyard. It's interrupting his morning coffee ritual. I guess he drinks his coffee outside, which is a vibe, and he was bothered by first the size of the classes, people starting to be more on his side of the yard. And then also there was starting to be loud music, loud nature sounds and healing frequencies. And then if that wasn't enough, they started burning incense, and this is bothering him. He's asked her politely a few times to keep her classes to her own side, which she has laughed and said, oh, it's all one big green space anyways. He's taken this to Reddit and he's asked people, is he overreacting? somebody responded, somebody said, not overreacting. She needs to namaste on her side, which I was like, that's a little bit funny. Honestly, this is considered trespassing, and she should tread lightly with that because, as relaxing and as chill and as harmless we might think a yoga practice is, you can't tell somebody else what they want or how to use their space. If he wants to have his quiet morning coffees without looking at a bunch of people and without, speakers and incense, then I guess that's just how he wants to have his morning coffee. And I mean, he paid for his home and he should be able to enjoy his home in the ways that he wants to enjoy his home. Honestly, not very yogic of her to be so disruptive to whatever rituals he has for his mornings. And that was a very hippie thing of her to say, oh, it's all one big green space anyway. And it's like, you could say that if it's like public domain, but if this was in my yard, to be honest, since I'm like a yoga enthusiast, I'd be like, if you can't beat them, join them. That I just roll my mat out and be like, you know what? I need a morning practice anyways. But I can see how somebody might be like, no, I don't want this in my yard. And look, you have every right to say that, In this world, we have made it to where you can own space and you have a say over the space that you own. That's just the way that things are in this society, and we gotta respect that. And I'm happy with that to a certain degree. I don't want people coming in my personal space doing whatever. It's okay to be protective over your space. That's all that I'm going to say to that. This was just a little lighthearted story. In other news, it's some national days this week. National Hermit Day is October 29th on Tuesday, and this is a day to recognize the hermit in all of us. A hermit is somebody who lives to some degree in seclusion from society. The concept of what a hermit is that there's a degree of that in yoga, of going inward, withdrawing your senses, taking the focus off of others and everything around you and just putting that onto yourself and what you're working on. Or there's no problem with being hermit or tapping into a little bit of your introvert traits. It's important to be connected to the world and others, but then sometimes it's important to just have your alone time and just be to yourself. And honestly, this ties into what the yoga theme will be this week. I don't want to say that I've been in like a literal hermit mode, like, oh, I've been totally secluded and this and that. Like, no, I've still been showing up to my events or, my duties this week, and I've still been talking to my people on the phone, but I have had a lot of internal things going on this week, and it's been interesting to say the least. When I was trying to decide what the theme of the week was between Hermit Day and just all this internal stuff I've been dealing with and the other national day that is this week, I was like, man, it seems like I don't even have to pick the theme of the week. The theme of the week is going to pick itself. The other national day this week is National Internal Medicine, and basically this is just recognizing internal medicine physicians, and these are experts in healthcare who dive deeper into the complexity of the connections in the human bodies, knowing like, hey, there's a connection between your heart and then this other part of your body, and then finding the root cause and really trying to manage severe long-term illnesses. They have to go inward to do that. They have to look into somebody a bit deeper instead of being like, hey, you're having this issue, let me prescribe you this medication. They really have to take a deep dive into maybe why that person might be having that issue and what they can do for that person. Some examples of areas of study or fields of study that internal medicine physicians are in, it's cardiology, endocrinology, rheumatology. There's a few. Yeah, they really see the connectedness between the body. I mean, I think a lot of people have been waking up to that. They say, oh, an internal medicine physician, they might study the connection between your gut and your brain, which a lot of people have been waking up to. I just thought it was interesting to where I was like, okay, so maybe this is what the theme of the week will be, which we will get into later in the episode. Yoga Heals. This week's Yoga Heals, my special guest will be Bailey, whom I trained with at Yoga View for my teacher training, and she's been teaching for a little bit more than a year now. She is a slow-flowing, breath-focused yoga teacher, and I love that about her. I do remember our last day of training, we all got to experience a little bit of each other's teaching style, and I loved hers. It was very calming, and I thought to myself, man, she was made for this. Her mission is to introduce yoga to people in unconventional spaces. She wants to connect with the community. She's done a few events like yoga and boba, bringing the two together and bringing in her practice into spaces like coffee shops, schools, different businesses, etc. So let's get on with the conversation. Hello, Bailey. Welcome. Thank you for coming on to the Perfect Prana Show. I'm so happy and blessed to have you. I haven't talked to you in forever, and I'm just so excited to catch up with you. The first thing that I ask every single person that comes into the show is, when did they start practicing yoga? Why do they still practice yoga today?
Mm, First of all, thank you for having me. This is awesome. I love this. Okay, so why did I start practicing yoga and why am I still practicing today? I started practicing yoga because I was searching for just a way to feel good in my body. And I kind of stumbled across it actually. One of my old teachers, she mentioned briefly that how she would do yoga every morning, and I looked up to her a lot. And I kind of like, did my own little research, found out about what is her name? Yoga with Adrienne. Yes, Yoga with Adrienne. She was mine and probably a lot of other people's introduction to yoga online. Yeah, once I started, like I had no idea that I could feel so relaxed and calm in my body, and that's what keeps me going today as well, is just realizing that this is a tool and a way we can use our bodies and our breaths to help us to feel good and to be able to move through life and feel okay.
I love the internet. This is a great tool. It's a double-edged sword. There's many things that are harmful due to, the internet, but then there are so
Mhm.
many things that the internet has to offer, and yoga being one of those things. It's really made accessible for all of us. It is so easy to get a good quality practice by just looking up a yoga video online. And that's why, I want to branch more into the internet, and I see why a lot of people are doing it, because it's just such a great, easy way to just share with people that it's like, I want to connect with people here's a way to make the connection a little bit easier and more convenient for everybody. So yeah, thank you to all my yoga internet people and yoga with
Mhm.
Adrienne, or like, whatever other YouTubers are out there, all the upcoming ones. Also, just to build on what you said, I am with you 100% that it's like, man, I feel good moving in these certain ways and breathing in these certain ways. And I just want to share that with everybody. Like, everybody could feel this. I want everybody to feel that. So what I wanted to ask you more about is, again, we haven't spoke since we trained together at Yoga View. So where did you go after that? You went through this yoga teacher training. What changed for you? If anything did change at all.
So, yeah, a few things changed for me for sure. And one of them was realizing how connected I felt to breath work and exploring that avenue, which I learned through the training, which I didn't realize how large of a part it was of yoga. It's majority of what yoga is. It's like the breathing aspect to it. And so I kind of like did a lot more learning about breath work and also just realizing that what helps me the most in my practice was slowing down my breath and concentrating on how my breath felt in my body. So moving forward from the training, whenever I would practice or whenever I would go to a class, that's what I would put most of my focus on. Whereas before, it was kind of like, am I doing this right? Is this pose looking okay? And kind of like focusing more on the physical aspects of it and what it looked like. But yeah, it kind of took a few months to just continue my learning and kind of get comfortable with my own new personal practice. And then I started branching off and wanting to teach other people as well. So I started, community teaching at my local coffee shops and kind of like collaborating with some folks that I know and, bringing yoga to their businesses or bringing yoga to the school that I used to teach at and where my daughter attends and yeah, I'm kind of like building up from there.
Yeah, I've definitely realized that yoga, or at least these asanas, they can be so hard. And you're not doing any of these hard postures or movements without breathing, without connecting to
Mhm.
your breath. I just feel like it's impossible. There's no way that, you can have just a very shallow or a quick breath pattern and then like go do some like crazy things. I definitely will say training, it definitely helped me with that. I remember you telling us that you wanted to branch into teaching children. You said that you were teaching at schools and that you were also connecting with local places in your community. What was the experience like with that? How were you feeling when you started teaching people?
Oof, it was so scary. I had a lot of doubts and like a lot of imposter syndrome, just that, am I the right person to be doing this? Do I know enough? Like you go through the yoga teacher training and it goes so fast and you feel like you're learning so much, but then you kind of realize that, and they explain it to you as well, that this is really just like the tip of the iceberg. And so I was having some serious anxiety about teaching and leading the class and everyone depending on me to get this experience or or they're searching for something, I have to give it to them. So it was a lot of unlearning of that for me as well. And that kind of became part of my practice for just being able to be grounded, to teach what I know. And, if one person feels good a little bit better after the class, if one person, discovers an insight or just, has a good relaxing time, then I've done what I've came to do. So I had to like that hurdle of am I good enough to teach is a big one I think for a lot of people who start out and I think it continues like whenever I know I'm teaching something new or there's more people coming to class and like just gotta like step into that teacher mode and just know that I'm just here to share and to help and I'm just kind of like a vessel just pushing this information along and hopefully helping people along the way and just in keeping my ego out of it and trying to be this perfect teacher or spread the perfect message. I'm like I just want to get this out there to people and I know it'll help at least someone.
Man, that's real. Still to this day, after after everything, still, kind of always having to quiet that mind of like, oh, like you said, am I good enough to teach this? What do I know? Like, who even am I? Like, constantly questioning yourself. But the best thing you said is just the best thought pattern you can have. It's like, I just want to help people. I just want to this helped me. I want to give this to somebody else to help them. So yeah, you said that you continued your learning or that maybe you're still continuing your learning now. How do you do that?
I would say like the beauty of continuing your education is like you can just do it however you want to. Like for me, I didn't go into like a more like traditional like I guess course or curriculum or training, but I just started delving into more information online, reading more books, reading about other people's experiences and these other teachers online and what they had to say and fostering like my own curiosity about yoga and all that it pertains to and then trying to teach and like connect that to my experience and then teaching from my experience. So that's kind of like why and how I've continued. It's just whatever I'm curious about, like let me go learn more about that. And then, if I'm struggling with something, like maybe learn from other people's experiences, like how they've overcome those struggles and yeah, just trying to keep it light and fun. Like, I'm wanting just keeping that real like wanting of learning and not making it like something I have to do and like, like homework or like a punishment for myself because I really do enjoy it. And I think like it should be in the whatever you continue to learn about should be enjoyable so you can actually like use it, you know?
Yeah, keep it fun. That's a big one. Try to keep everything fun because honestly, most times if you don't enjoy it, it's not you won't stick to it. You're not gonna
Exactly.
stick to it. So, yeah, I wanted to ask you more just about what your practice looks like now on a day-to-day basis.
Well, it's definitely not always on my mat. I'll tell you that for sure. And like that was like another point where I'm like, okay, I'm not a bad person because I don't jump on my mat every day, even though I wish I did, but that's just unrealistic for my life. So I definitely am mindful of the times in my day when I can bring some mindfulness and some peace and then try to carry that on with me. And for me, that can be like when I'm like my time of cooking dinner at home is like it's ritualistic. Like I light my candle, sometimes I'll get a glass of wine or what have you, and I'll just like sit and chop my veggies, prepare the mise en place and just be totally in the moment, totally present, totally at peace, and enjoy of what I'm doing, in awe of like these miracles that I'm holding in my hands, like how these vegetables grew from the ground, how this meat got to my plate right now, and what have you, and just finding little moments like that to just really. Just like on the mat here, I'm feeling into my body, I'm feeling into my presence, and just trying to be one with the moment and I feel like we can find those little pockets throughout the day no matter what you're doing on or off your mat and learning from it learning from that moment and just kind of like carrying that with you just like if you were to take an hour-long yoga class and you take that piece throughout your day it's the same thing you can find little moments to add yoga into your day.
Mindfulness is definitely just a very important aspect of yoga. If not yoga, like, mindfulness and yoga are almost synonymous.
Yeah,
It's
it's just
you can't have one without the other. If you more so, what is outside of yoga? What's going on there? What do you do for a living?
yes, so much goes on outside of yoga as well, but I'm a mom of a recent or just she just turned 4, so I have a new 4-year-old daughter. And I work as a right now I'm working as a nail technician as my to make up my full income and I really enjoy that as well. So, I do nails, manicures, pedicures, eyebrows, the whole shebang. And that's actually something that I did for a few years before jumping into teaching and pursuing my yoga career. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing now. and ju- just trying to juggle this craziness of life, especially like being a young mom in a new city, all these new people experiences, not having much family close by. It's wild out here. Like it's really crazy. I love it. There's a lot to learn from and a lot to experience. So it's very exciting.
So, do you think, do you ever see yourself teaching yoga full time? If so, why or why not?
I definitely can see myself teaching it full time. I would like for that to be the reality later on. And it would probably like it's hard to say now because it's always changing, but it would be lovely to, to kind of like have my own like traveling yoga business and not necessarily like retreats, which would also be nice, but even just bringing it, kind of where I started, like after our hours at a coffee shop, moving the tables out the way, turning it into like a nice little Zen yoga studio for the night, and inviting people out to practice who normally maybe wouldn't go sign up at a studio for a studio class. And that's kind of been my mission from the beginning. I think you asked me this earlier, but to touch on it really quick is that I really want to bring people and introduce people to yoga who maybe wouldn't go out and find it for themselves, who maybe are thinking like, oh, yoga's for a certain type of person, or you have to look a certain way to practice yoga. You have to have, like it's yoga can be a little bit elitist at times. And I think that image projects itself, especially over here in the US, and that yoga is like I don't know, like a handbag, like you do it because it makes you look a certain way. But um, I really want to bring it down to earth and to let people know and my peers and my friends and my family that this is you can make this whatever you want it to be, and all it is supposed, all it's meant to do is to just kind of help you along your own journey and to help other people along theirs. And um, so yeah, I would love to like bring it to residential areas, apartment buildings. Like I don't know, kind of thinking out the box. Like we're like yoga pop-ups. Like I want to start that. Like I think that would be so cool. And having, I'm sure they already do that, but kind of just bringing it to the unconventional spaces and areas to the people who may just stumble upon it and not necessarily be looking for a traditional in-studio yoga class.
Man, yeah, dreaming. I'm here for it. I mean, so I know you teach community classes, or maybe you'll do an event at a coffee shop, or maybe again you're interested in creating more spaces to teach yoga. As my question for you is, how do you connect with people and build community and make people want to come to your practice or to the space that you're teaching at? Because I mean, it's hard to get people to leave their house, and I'm saying this as somebody that it's hard for me to leave my house. So yeah, how?
Mm. Oh, trust me, I get it. I would say, yeah, community is big, and like I said, I'm new to the city, so I'm still kind of trying to build my community. But you'll find it'll come along if you're looking for it. It'll find you. If you're looking for an opportunity, it'll find you. And you talk to the right person. For example, how I got started at all with teaching yoga in my local coffee shop. I started because I ran into the owner of this coffee shop called Viet Five. It's a Vietnamese coffee shop, and they have Vietnamese coffee and all that and whatnot. And I ran into him, and we knew each other from when he first opened out there, and I came out to the grand opening. He was like, "What are you doing lately? Like, what's going on?" And I told him about, I finished my yoga teacher training. I'm trying to find like an opportunity to teach yoga somewhere and just kind of like making conversation. And he was like, "Why don't you come teach it at the coffee shop?" And I'm like, "At the coffee shop? Like, are you sure? Like, is that something that would, And we kind of like built this little, Viet 5 yoga club, from out of thin air, and from there other people were interested, like, they're like, "Oh, what's this yoga and coffee?" And I started doing these like yoga and boba events where people love boba and or people would love yoga, and then they kind of like the worlds meet. And like, what's yoga and boba? Like, that sounds interesting, like we've never heard of that. Or it's like it's untraditional, and it kind of makes it a little bit more fun especially when people get a free little treat out of it as well. And I would kind of like slip in like some other practices, like I would throw in some breathing practices in the beginning or the end, or have them lie down for meditation. And like these people are coming not really knowing what to expect, but then they kind of get this full circle, kind of playful experience, but in something that's also very real and tangible. And I make sure they walk out and feeling, much better than they did walking in, or kind of with a bit more understanding. And yeah, I think like adding something fun like that. And I know it's interesting because when I first went into the teacher training, I had this idea that I wanted to go the very traditional route. Like I wanted to learn traditional hatha yoga. I wanted to teach no music. I wanted it to be like like very like I'm like no distractions, and kind of like going a very like dogmatic perspective. And that's great. And I really enjoy those sort of classes. But with my mission, what I discovered I really had a passion for, it's kind of hard to get people to to come into that space. And so a bit intimidating, I think, when you're newer to starting out, or like, you're just learning about what yoga even is. So adding in some boba, adding in some like cool music, or, themes, and like having it be at a coffee shop that they're familiar with, or partnering with this or and that. And I think that makes it a lot more accessible to people to make them feel comfortable enough to try something new that maybe they're not really sure, how they're gonna feel about it, if it's for them. And hopefully they walk away being like, that I like that part, or I like the music with this. I didn't know that there could be this sort of music, or that you could laugh and talk to each other afterwards. And it wasn't some just like strict workout class where you had to be quiet, and like. So yeah, I'm working to make it engaging and inviting to people of of any background. So that's my goal, and hopefully that continues to evolve as the time goes by.
Yeah, I love that you highlighted just, like you said, if you're looking for connections, keep sowing seeds, keep putting it out there, it'll find you. It's really cool that I guess you weren't even like trying that hard, you just told somebody that you knew and he's like, "Hey, do it here." And now to see what this is coming to fruition to be is that you can run these events. So that's cool. And it's also cool to bring people together, just in general, because, a lot of us, we do need connection outside of the internet and, actually going to spaces because once you graduate or, you're out of school and then, let's say your job doesn't require you to be that social, then you're kind of in a box in your own bubble all day. And that can't be that healthy after a certain point. And I mean, even you as a nail technician, that's a bit of socializing, but it could be like a day or you could have a few days where you're like, okay, I only saw 3 to 4 clients, and that was it. And I mean, maybe that's enough, but then imagine being able to connect with double that in one setting or at one time. It's like, it's very empowering and it helps us be inspired and keeps us going. So I was going to ask you next. Well, I have 2 questions for you too. Are you still doing the yoga and boba or yoga at the coffee shops, and how often for my friends that might be interested in that?
Um, the yoga and boba has taken a pause because the coffee shop was under construction. But now coming back, I'm kind of like reframing it a little bit, and like trying to make it into like a more of like a real thing where people can find us online. And but when it does come back, and you can find it definitely on VFI's Instagram or their website. Um, but it'll be weekly. It was weekly. It was donation based, and we were thinking of making it into like a tiered program, and like having it be this whole big thing, where people can kind of like choose, which package works the best for them, or they can come and get their free boba, and just kind of like create a community around these two worlds that I really enjoy and that mean a lot to me. like my daughter is half Vietnamese, and so I'm very involved in the Vietnamese community, and living in uptown, and having her be around the culture, and that means a lot to me too. So kind of like trying to bridge these gaps for that. But yeah, when it does come back, it should be on VF5's website, and then from there you'll be able to find me where I'll be doing my little, I do pop-ups here and there. I did a pop-up for the Taste of Randolph. It was a chair yoga and breath work, and so yeah, I'm kind of like a little ghost. Like I'll just pop up places, and some days I'll be gone, but I'm taking a bit of a hiatus right now, but trying to reframe things and go in a much clearer direction, and hopefully, yeah, we'll see you on the other side.
Yes, I'll definitely have to put their website in the show notes as well as
Mhm.
like, a place where people can find you if they want to connect with you and if they're interested in some of the events that might be coming up. Another question I want to ask you is since we're kind of starting to wind down a little bit is teachers, what are your three favorite characteristics or traits or qualities in a teacher?
A loving, open energy. That's my one of my favorite qualities because I do like a good stern, very like kind of, I don't know, like commander sort of teacher. Like that can be cool when I'm like at a boot camp or trying to, really go through a tough time. But in general, I like when a teacher can seem like, you can go and talk to them and ask for help, and they're gonna, open their arms to you and make you feel comfortable. So a loving, warm energy is really nice for a teacher. You just feel automatically more welcome and like ready to like put in real work or whatever in whatever sense. And then I would say a good sense of humor is nice. Like that always kind of lightens the mood. And that's always fun to have a teacher with a good sense of humor. And and probably just you know, a generous teacher, like someone who's not gonna, lock the doors at on the dot at the time the class is supposed to start. Because I mean, I get it for sure, but it's nice like to let have that generous spirit and the understanding spirit. Um, yeah, that includes everyone, even people who are running a little bit late, because that can be me sometimes too. So I get it, and I want a teacher to have that understanding as well. I would say those three things.
Yes, it's just something to think about when we think about like the things that we want to that we like in people, and they were like, okay, I'm going to take that with me and kind of weave that into who I am as a teacher. And I like thinking about stuff like that sometimes. So I'm starting something new. You'll be the first person that I'm going to start this with because this show is forming as it goes. And
Hmm.
yeah, so I have a tin. You can't see it for real. Okay, there you go.
Oh.
I have a tin and it has some papers in it with different niyamas and yamas on them from the 8 limbs of yoga. And I'm going to
Mhm.
pick one out at random just so you can talk about that specific yama or niyama,
Okay.
maybe your struggles with it, maybe how you're practicing it, maybe how you're going to practice it, and just kind of your take on it. So yeah, I'm gonna pick it out and we'll go.
So
So
exciting. I love this.
Ahimsa, nonviolence, literally the first one.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and you could just talk about it, either your take on it, how you're practicing it, maybe how you're going to practice it, or maybe if it's something you're struggling with, you could talk about that. But yeah.
Mhm. I would say I really do like this one because I would describe myself as a generally peaceful person. I really don't like violence in any sense. I don't think anybody does. Well, some people, but Um, a way that I'm practicing this nonviolence is, I would say, the most is in my communication because I just have a hard time when people can like bring this sort of violent energy when talking to each other. You know, we all have like that friend or that family member that's like whenever they say something, it's like, it's like it's so, I don't know, aggressive, and it's like it doesn't have to be, it's unnecessary. So I definitely see that and I'm like, okay, I don't want to talk to people with this violent nature. I want to come off like as like, peaceful and loving and like warm. Like that's what I want to adopt. So I would say I practice that, and like when I'm frustrated or feeling anger, and which is important, those are important emotions to have. I am making sure that I am practicing nonviolence with that as well. I mean, when I feel anger, I, express it on my own in ways that feel good to me. Like I'll shake my arms, I'll shake my legs, I'll do dragon's breath or lion's breath and just kind of like get all this heat out of me, and get all this extra energy that's building up, and try to practice in a way where like I'm not taking that out on people that I love, and I'm not taking it out on the world, I'm not taking it out on myself. That's most important. Um and yeah, kind of practicing that nonviolence with yourself, that's different because we always think like, it's easy to not be violent to other people, easy enough. But then when it comes to yourself, it's so easy to talk down on yourself and to be violent towards yourself. And I would say that's probably what I would struggle with most, is making sure I'm talking to myself with that peace, love, and warmth that I want to talk to other people with. And yeah, so that's a practice definitely that I'm working on with that one. And just being giving that to myself, what I want to give to other people.
Yes. Well, thank you for highlighting that. Violence is beyond just hitting somebody or making there be blood and all that stuff. It is something that, we might feel physically violent. And I like that you pointed out, like, yeah, sometimes you got to shake it out because when you're angry, you get your adrenaline is up there. You might start to have your body temperature raising, and, you're all scrunched up, and maybe a little a squint or a twitch in your eye or something. But like, it is important, like you said, just to try not to take that on others, not to take that out on yourself. Find ways to release that energy in safe ways. And yeah, and then also that violence could just be in your words, it could just be in your thoughts. And it's beyond of saying, oh, I want to physically hurt this person. Maybe you're verbally hurting that person, or maybe you're verbally hurting yourself. And I definitely have to grapple with this still to this day. When I get in arguments with certain people, like you said, in your family, and you're like, okay, there's me, and then there's the yogic me, in trying to tap into that yogic version of yourself, or that higher version of yourself, and say, I'm not going to respond in this immature way, and yeah. So that was a lovely take on Ahimsa. Thank you so much, Bailey, for sharing with me just about your personal projects and your personal practice, and your mission, your philosophies, all that great stuff. Before we get off this chat, I am going to have you lead us through a short pranayama, just a few cues for a few breaths.
Oh, wonderful. I would love to share this one. I don't know if it's an actual pranayama practice. It probably is, because I think you can just breathe however you want to. But this one is called a psychological sigh. I forget who coined that term, but I actually learned it on the Huberman Lab podcast, which is a great health podcast if you want to check it out. Um, and it's called a psychological sign. It's really easy. So it's a full deep breath in. I would say through your nose, and you can use ujjayi breathing if you'd like. And it's a full deep breath in, starting from your belly, working up to your chest. And when you get to the top, you'll take just a little sip in, like so much, like you can't take in any more air. That last little sip of air in, hold it for a beat, and then you'll blow slowly, 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 and I mean slowly, through your mouth all the way down until the air is gone. And it does take a while. And doing one or two of those is said to it's a fast and complete way to kind of reset the nervous system and bring you back down to like a level of steady heartbeat. It balances the oxygen in your bloodstream. So we'll go ahead and give it a try. And everyone has their own pace, so you'll just start, and then I'll add in the cues, and wherever you're at, just stick with it, and we'll do it together. So go ahead and exhale any air out of your lungs that you have now. And then when you're ready, you'll breathe in slowly through the nose into the tummy, taking your time. And when you can't breathe in anymore, suck in a little extra breath through your mouth, hold it for a breath, and then slowly blow the air out through the mouth. You're blowing through a straw, as slow as can be. And then when your lungs are empty, go ahead and slowly fill the lungs back up in through the nose. When you get to the top, take that last sip in. And slowly blow out through the mouth. Dropping the shoulders, relaxing the face. When you complete that breath, you can blink the eyes open, let the breath return to normal. Sit in the silence for a moment. And maybe we add a smile. And yeah, that's how I like to end a lot of my practices, a lot of my days. I like to start my days with that. And yeah, you can just take 30 seconds to a minute to breathe that way, and to kind of reset yourself and just bring a little moment of peace.
Thank you so much, Bailey. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
You're listening to The Perfect Prana Show, available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow me on Instagram at consistently Kyah, consistently spelled with a K, Kyah spelled Kyah, and subscribe to my YouTube channel to follow along to asana practices. Also, consistently Kyah, consistently spelled with a K, Kyah spelled Kyah. Yoga theme. If you could not guess the theme already, the theme is internal. This concept just keeps coming up. Oh my gosh. So I'm behind on posting my asanas for my themes because, I was very new to making YouTube videos, and yeah, I finally posted my sun salutation video, my variation of sun salutation. It is on YouTube for you to practice when you want to take from it, to change it, to do whatever you want with it. It'll be there for as long as YouTube is there, for as long as the internet allows it to be there. That variation of sun salutation that I've been practicing and teaching in my classes will be on the internet. So yeah, I've said this a few times, this show is changing and forming as I continue, and so is the YouTube situation, but I wanted to get it off the ground and yeah, get it going. But anyways, I still owe you an asana practice that will move you forward, because last week's theme was moving forward. I'm definitely going to talk more about the concept of moving forward in my next video. So be on the lookout for that. I'll be posting it on Instagram when I finally post it, and yeah, so subscribe, turn on your notifications if you want to do a yoga practice that moves you forward. And again, you can do the practice, actually set your mat out, do it, or you can look at the practice, take some moves from the practice and add it to your daily regimen, or however you would like to do that. But this week's practice, hopefully I can post 2 videos this week so I can finally catch up now that I have my editing situation and posting situation figured out. But this week's practice is a practice that will help you go inward, and it'll be focusing on movements and postures and asanas that focus on internal. I will be including lots of internal rotation, maybe of the hips, maybe of the shoulders, postures in general that make me go inward. Which is just so important sometimes. It's, my brain can get so clouded and overwhelmed with everything that's going on the outside of me. Maybe I'm looking at other people, comparing myself. You're just having experiences and letting those experiences trigger anxiety inside of me. And it's just like, no. Let me turn all of that off and let me go inside of myself. And I've been having to do that a lot this past week. I've been having, like I said, a lot of internal issues come up, some things that I thought didn't bother me anymore. Thinking, man, maybe I'm still bothered about some things. Some of my deepest insecurities have been coming up this week and I guess manifesting themselves this week. Or, I've just noticed some of my thought patterns have been off. And maybe even going through a mini depression where it's just like, I'm not motivated. I don't, just low energy. Just lots of ruminating thoughts. That's life. There's ebbs and flows, and I'm going to move forward. And then also, I do want to go inward and unpack some of that stuff and really, unpack it with my consciousness now. I used to have these thoughts and these issues, but I don't think that I was aware, and it was something that I would just let happen, and then be like, well, this is the reality. But now I'm at this awareness where I can be like, well, this isn't real. Why is this something that keeps coming up in my head? Why is this the thought pattern? What's going on here? Really get deeper into that. Is that true, what you really think? Let's say that this is true. So what? Getting to the root of some of these issues and some of these beliefs that maybe hold me back. Yeah, I don't know. It's been quite a week, and I'm not going to get too personal. I feel like this has been personal enough. It's taking a lot of energy for me to show up this week. Yeah, even posting that YouTube video, it was embarrassing. Again, I had to reach within myself and grab every single confidence and kind of just look, I'm having these self-doubting thoughts, or I'm having all this negative self-talk going on, but I still said I was gonna post this. I gotta be confident. I just gotta do it. I'm gonna post this. So what? A lot of people are posting YouTube videos, and who are they? What makes them qualified, or to post a YouTube video? And just I really had to I had to talk myself through a lot of stuff this past week. I felt like this past week I've been pretty bare minimum. I haven't been able to show up in the ways that I think that I should show up. I have not been on top of the world, and that is okay. Some weeks it's like that. Some weeks you are not going to be so motivated, and I'm like, that motivation, it'll come back, and then it'll leave again. But there are some things, some non-negotiables that I have for myself that I'm glad that at least I have that. And that's enough for right now. And when I'm motivated again, I'll make more non-negotiables for myself and my baseline level will be even better. But yeah, this week it's been a pretty challenging week for me energy-wise. Some things to note is I will not be posting an episode next week. I have some things going on that I'm not gonna force myself to post an episode next week. It would be too much of a time crunch. Letting you know that up front right now. I will be posting my YouTube videos, however. So that's what I'm saying. I have my next video to post on a practice that moves us forward, which I need to keep moving forward. And I'm sure a lot of people need that, is to move forward in life, irregardless of the circumstances. And then I'll be posting a practice that helps us go within. So yeah, those are the 2 videos to be on the lookout for. So yeah, I omitted the weekly wellness challenge, and that's just because that was like I was like, I can't do this anymore. I want to start a new way to challenge myself. Still just as challenging for me to actually post a video every week. I've already been failing at that challenge. And again, it's so easy for me to be in my own world, in my own practice, and to not share that with others. But I'm trying to get out of that, Please bear with me and engage with me on the internet. Maybe one day this will be like a time capsule and I'll be like a completely different person, or like the way that I post or the content that I share will be completely different and far more advanced. And everybody can look back on this stuff and be like, wow. And they can see the evolution. Anyways, thank you all so much for being here with me to this point in the episode. Everybody that listens to my show, much love. You can expect another episode, Prana 4.4, or the second weekend of November. With that being said, the light and darkness in me bows to the light and darkness in you. Namaste. Ashe.